The oldest record of Atlantis isn't a ruin, not a map, not a sonar hit or a stone pulled off the seafloor. It's a story written by Plato in two dialogues called the Timaeus and the Critias. And nobody talks about this part. The Critias is unfinished. The most famous lost city in human history comes from a text that never got an ending. Mid-sentence, done. But Atlantis wasn't normal, not because of the legend, because the ocean keeps making real versions of it. And Plato's story didn't just describe a lost city, it described a planet that can erase cities. Most people assume Atlantis goes like this: advanced civilization, dramatic fall, proof out there somewhere waiting to be found. What's actually verified is narrower than you'd think. The whole story traces back to one person, Plato. No independent ancient source confirms any of it. Every retelling that came after is downstream of those two dialogues. That's it. But Plato was clever about it. He framed the story as a chain of testimony, passed from Egyptian priests to the Athenian statesman Solon, then handed down through generations. That framing made it feel less like philosophy and more like someone recounting something that actually happened. And then the details landed. Atlantis sat beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. It was described as larger than Asia Minor and Libya combined. That's not an island. That's closer to a small continent. And its destruction? A single day and night of earthquakes and floods. Gone. So if Atlantis the place isn't verified, why won't it go away? Because the mechanisms are real. Forget the one perfect Atlantis. Start with three real ones. Thonis-Heracleion. A major port city on Egypt's Mediterranean coast, now sitting beneath Obscura Bay. Franck Godio's team located it around the year 2000. Temples, statues, ship remains, all buried under meters of sediment. The proposed cause? Earthquakes combined with soil liquefaction. The ground lost its structure and behaved like liquid. Whether it collapsed suddenly or subsided over centuries is still debated. But the outcome doesn't change. A whole city swallowed. Helike, Greek city. Destroyed in 373 BC by an earthquake followed by a tsunami. One event, one night. A functioning city wiped off the surface and submerged. The parallel to Plato's single day and night is hard to miss. Not as proof of Atlantis, but as proof that the mechanism works. Pavlopetri, shallow water off southern Greece, rediscovered in 1967. Streets, buildings, tombs, all underwater. This is what a real sunken town actually looks like. No mythology required. 3 sites, 3 different methods of discovery: remote sensing, deep excavation, shallow water mapping. Different tools, same conclusion. The cities are real. And that's still shallow water. Now go deeper. Because the ocean has a place literally called the Lost City. And it doesn't run on sunlight. At the surface, every ecosystem you know runs on one thing: sunlight. Plants capture it, animals eat the plants, The whole chain hangs from that single hook. Now take the sunlight away. On the floor of the Atlantic, along the mid-Atlantic ridge, there's a place called the Lost City Hydrothermal Field. It sits on an underwater rock formation called the Atlantis Massif, and it runs on something completely different. The process is called serpentinization. Seawater meets mantle rock rich in the mineral olivine. A chemical reaction kicks off, producing hydrogen and methane. Both usable energy sources, no sun needed. Life down here runs on chemistry bleeding out of stone. The field was identified in early December 2000 using the deep-sea submersible DSV Alvin, launched from the research vessel R/V Atlantis. The names are a coincidence. The discovery was not. How widespread these systems are across the world's oceans? Unknown. How many have been missed entirely? Open question. And then you see it, the thing that earns the name. The tallest structure in the Lost City is called the Poseidon Edifice. It stands roughly 60 meters tall. That's a 20-story building, rising straight off the ocean floor. Not steel, not concrete, carbonate minerals, deposited over tens of thousands of years by venting fluids. The ocean built this the way a cave builds stalactites. Slowly. Chemically. Without a blueprint. Those fluids reach around 91 degrees Celsius. And they're extremely alkaline, pH about 10.7, compared to normal seawater at roughly 8. On a logarithmic scale, that gap is enormous. Coating the chimneys, biofilms. Dense microbial communities, including archaea called Lost City Methanosarcinales. These organisms live inside the chimney walls themselves, feeding on the hydrogen and methane the rock provides. Small gastropods and amphipods cling to the outer surfaces. Life gripping rock in total darkness. The full metabolic network inside these chimneys is only partially observed. The system works, we just don't know everything it's doing yet. So if that's a city built from stone, what happens when the ocean builds one out of water? In the Red Sea, there's a feature called Atlantis II Deep. It's a brine pool. Water so dense with dissolved salt that it sits on the seafloor like a lake inside the ocean. Visible surface, shorelines. A submersible sinks into it the way a stone sinks into a pond. It is hot, hypersaline, anoxic, and loaded with dissolved metals. Researchers first noticed anomalous temperatures at the bottom of the Red Sea in the late 1940s. By the mid-1960s, expeditions confirmed what was down there. Massive pools of superheated brine, nothing like the water above them. The numbers are blunt. Brine temperatures up to roughly 67 degrees Celsius, no oxygen, saturated with dissolved zinc, copper, and iron. It's one of the largest marine sulfide deposits on Earth. And it hosts extremophile microbes. Organisms whose enzymes function under conditions that would destroy most known biology. Those enzymes are now of serious interest for biotechnology. But the microbial ecosystems across the brine interface are still undersampled. The environment destroys instruments. We know life persists there. We don't have the full picture. And whether anyone should extract those metals, unresolved. The economics, the environmental cost, the legal governance, none of it is settled. This isn't myth, it's hazard logic. The same forces that sank Thonis-Heracleion and erased Helike in one night apply directly to coastal cities standing right now. built on the same kinds of ground, exposed to the same forces. And then the flip side. The Lost City proves life doesn't need sunlight, it can run on geochemistry alone. Atlantis II Deep shows extreme environments aren't just dead zones, they hold enzymes with real potential for biotechnology. But those metal deposits connect to a messier question. Deep-sea mining has been seriously considered. Who owns the resource? Who regulates extraction? Who bears the environmental cost? Unresolved. No clear answer in sight. Atlantis isn't normal because the truth is weirder than the legend. Plato's Atlantis remains unverified. The story is powerful, and it is alone. But the ocean does this for real. A city erased, Helike, Thonis-Heracleion. A city mapped, Pavlopetri. A city built from stone, the Lost City. A city made of brine, Atlantis II Deep. 4 real places, 0 mythology. What other Atlantises are still out there, invisible because nobody's looked with the right tools? You just saw what the ocean builds when nobody's watching. Stone towers, brine lakes, entire cities swallowed whole. But the engineering gets stranger. Go deeper and you'll find animals that erase their own shadows. Fish that swallow light like a void, and a squid with a blackout curtain inside its body. Every depth zone rewrites the rules. I broke all of it down right here.